Well, welcome to another episode of Rim Shots with Sean right here on the Rock Rage Radio Network, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. And I have a guest here. I'm very excited to have Pat Gesualdo, who, you're the CEO of a little thing called the Metal Hall of Fame.
How are you, my friend?
I'm great. How long have you been working with this organization?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me on the show. What a great honor. I'm excited to see. I know we share a lot of passions about a lot of things, especially drumming and some other things as well.
Absolutely.
Oh, we're going to be speaking about that too.
Sure.
So the Metal Hall of Fame, I started 2016 we started.
Nice. So I've been following you for a while. So my girl Raquel, who you work with, she says you got to get Pat on. You got to get Pat on. And I mean, you're right in my wheelhouse of it's funny how this business, everybody thinks it's so big, but it's really quite small, right? Because as you go along, it's like, oh, well, I know that person, I know that person, and you and I would say we probably have a lot of people that we know in common. Yet this is the first time we're actually meeting. So it's funny how it works.
Yeah, isn't that crazy in our industry? And it's so huge, global, but yet it's so small at the same time.
It is, and a lot of people sometimes think it's out of reach, and for some it is because I talk about networking a lot on my podcast and how this whole business is really about that. Do you find for you that's a huge part of what you do and how you make this work?
I think it all adds to it, right? I
Right.
mean, I guess just like any other industry, it's about people that you already know and have existing relationships with, right, for years or decades, and then the other ones that you meet at a closer point in time, and maybe that expands into something else. So I guess it's especially after COVID, everything went digital, everything went online. And unfortunately, a lot of those in person meetings and even events and just socializing in general, that all just went by the wayside. And so many people now are just texting or Zooming. But
Right.
I think he's coming back, right?
It is.
Hopefully.
Well, and I mean, I have a plan to get down to Jersey. It's one of my favorite spots. I haven't been there in probably 20 years. But big Sopranos fan, full disclosure. So this event, man, oh man. So January 22nd, the Grand Theater in Anaheim, California, correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So that's coming up. You got the one, the only Mr. Eddie Trunk hosting this. This is not his first time doing that, correct?
No, Eddie's been with us from the beginning. I've been a friend of Eddie for years, and he's such a great guy, and it's such an honor to have him as well. Eddie's just our leader, right?
Yep.
It's just amazing.
Well, I listen to him on Hair Nation every Monday night, and I've actually had not a lot of back and forth with him, but being a drummer, as you know, and you're a drummer, the topic of backing tracks and what have you, it's a passionate one for Mr. Trunk. So we've had some a little bit of that, but so Kathy Rankin is going to be there. Talk about Kathy a little bit for people that don't know her. I certainly do, but just talk about her a little bit.
Yeah, Kathy's great. She is an entertainment personality, model, spokesperson from Arizona. She's done a lot of great things, and she is just such a great hostess. This is going to be maybe her third year with us, third or fourth year, and it's such an honor to have Kathy. Rounds out everything between her and Eddie, and she's a huge metal fan. She's a huge Rush fan, and she's really very excited about it and just does a phenomenal job. And man, let me tell you, when it comes to knowing everything, and she is just so pro, and we're so grateful to have her.
You also have here a list at Ricky Rocket,
Yep.
members of Megadeth, Chris Pohl and Jeff Young. Who else can people expect to see?
Yeah. Alyssa White-Glutz from Arch Enemy, Doyle from the Misfits. We have Burton C. Bell. Like I said, Jeff Young. We have, of course, Ricky Rocket, as you mentioned. We have a great lineup this year. Cannibal Corpse, Life of Agony. We're doing a special tribute to Dimebag for the 20th anniversary celebration of life. And I know in one way or another, Zach Wild and Phil Ansamo will be taking part in that,
Nice.
which is great. And yeah, and then we're going to have a pre-party at the House of Blues a little couple hours before, right down the street from the Grand Theater in Anaheim, California. That's going to be a little get together over there, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
So when you're putting this together, I mean, it's got to be so everybody kind of bitches about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, who's been omitted, who gets in that didn't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you obviously can't please everybody, but what is your criteria for your nominees and how people are chosen to get in?
Yeah, and that is all fan driven. So this has to be about the fans, right? The Metal Hall of Fame, especially this year, and I'll mention that in a second, but especially 2025 and everything that's going on now. But the Metal Hall of Fame is an honor and a tribute to all those musicians that have worked and bands that have worked so hard for us hard rock and metal fans
Mhm.
for decades, and they just get ignored. It's unfortunate, you know. So that's why I started the Metal Hall of Fame, because we need something for us metalhead, for our hard rock fans, and and so what happens is the fans get to vote on the website year round. Then it goes to our nominating committee, and then that's how we decide. And one thing I will add too is that a lot of people say, "Well, what about such and such or such and such?" Well, it's not really that easy for a couple of reasons. One, there are many musicians who just don't care about awards,
Right.
right? There's other ones who scheduling can be a difficult thing. So a lot of these things take place as to why or why not somebody's in or out of the hall. Sometimes it's just, you know, uh, a perfect meeting of everybody being in the same continent or the same place or the same state or whatever it is. So there's a lot of that goes into it as well. And as I mentioned, this year is so special because for the 2025 annual Metal Hall of Fame Gala, we're actually becoming a rock telethon. And we're going to do a live stream event for free.
Mhm.
And everybody can go there to watch the gala. And then we're going to have a direct link that goes right to the American Red Cross. So everybody can donate to the American Red Cross directly on their website. None of the money touches our hands. And it goes to helping the victims of the Los Angeles County wildfire victims. So
And
have
it's
to.
funny. It's funny you mentioned that because a few weeks ago was the anniversary of the Live Aid Feed the World, back in the '80s, and then they mentioned, Canada. We had We Are the World. The one that was overlooked was the Hearing Aid one, which obviously was one of my favorite ones, and it was orchestrated by the late great Ronnie James Dio and Vivian Campbell. Something like this, this community always steps up in these ways, and you know what, they sometimes don't get their due, but they don't ask for their due. Um, Obviously, it was a great idea. What led you to maybe want to do this with beyond wanting to help? Was there anything beyond that?
For the fire victims?
Yeah,
Well, just that I feel look, we're going to be right there in the heart of it, well, almost in the heart of it,
right.
just a few miles south of LA, right in, Orange County, California. So essentially, we're right there, right? But even though you can't see the smoke from Anaheim, you can't smell the smoke. But to do this type of event or any event, personally, I think all the events should be canceled. The NAM Convention Center, which is for those people who don't know, a big trade show for the music industry, and everybody comes from around the world to go there at the
Yep.
convention center. There are other events. I think everything, including us, should be canceled. And I can't, in good conscience, go there and do this show the way we do it and have so many, like we have every year, the celebrities and the rock stars and the actors and the actresses and do this knowing that Los Angeles is burning and there are many towns that just completely disappeared. So I can't, in good faith, put my head on a pillow at night without doing something for those victims, and hopefully it's going to help in some small way for sure.
Good on you, Pat. Because the one thing for me, and even locally here, when we're we're a funny little group here in Nova Scotia. Like, Ben Affleck goes into some gas station 5 hours away from where I live, and it makes news for 5 days, right? But the thing for me was local news was talking about all the celebrities that lost their homes and all the people that lost their homes. And they weren't talking at all about the guy that works the 9 to 5 job, and that kind of incensed me a little bit. So good on you guys for doing that. It's very important.
Thank you. It really is. And we all need to come together. Look, I don't care whether somebody has a lot of money or no money. At the end of the day, we're all affected just the same. And And in the end of it, we're all going, well, hopefully to the same place, but
Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot to it, and there's just so much devastation out there. And I've only seen the television, images and things for now, but I'm going to be out there, and I'm making a plan to be out there to at least try to do something while I'm physically out there, because and I love California. I mean,
Mm,
that's like my second home, especially Santa Monica.
right.
So yeah, I want to do something for sure to help.
Um, so back up to, you said you started in 2016, and obviously, you get the idea. You think, I'm guessing you sense there was a void in awards and for the genre or whatever. So you started. What was either I guess the ease or the difficulty? Was it tough getting buy-in with people when you started this?
No, actually, the first year was one of the easiest years that we've ever had. And again, I always tell the story. So really, here's exactly how it happened. I've heard a lot of different stories, but since I'm the one, I know exactly how it happened. So long story, even shorter. Um, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was on that year, and it was the year Deep Purple was getting inducted. And I came home from a gig. It was like, I don't know, like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm watching a small television in my kitchen. And I know all the guys in Deep Purple, and it bothers me so much about John Lord, unfortunately, who
Mm,
had passed away. So Ian Pace was up there, the drummer, with John's widow, Vicky, accepting the award. And the camera kind of pans to the audience, and everybody's like half asleep with their head on their hand. And I'm like, that just really pissed me off.
yeah.
And then a couple segments later, Easy E gets inducted, and the place goes crazy. So I'm like, I got so pissed off. I'm like, okay, I'm thinking to myself now, look, somebody has to, within 10 seconds, this is how the Metal Hall of Fame started, maybe 20 seconds. I said, look, this is ridiculous. Somebody's got to do our own award show for hard rock and metal. And I thought to myself, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to call it the Metal Hall of Fame. And that was in that 10, 20, 30 seconds is how it started. And that was from April. And that following January, we had our very first show 3,000 miles away from me here in Jersey, in California. And that's how it started. Yeah.
So, man, I love that because you and I are on the same page. I remember being in high school and staying up for the American Music Awards, but only wanting to see Tommy Lee and Vince Neil come on, and I could have cared less about the rest of it, right? So, I get that. To put on something like this, where you're in Jersey, thousands of miles away, obviously you have a lot of help. You have a lot of people that work with you. Um, you know, uh, some of the key people, I guess, for you that give you a hand with this to make it tick.
Yeah. We have some very key people, thankfully. And, we've had a lot of help along the ways. The first year, I really wasn't sure. I just went out and said, okay, I gathered people, industry executives, people that I knew. And I said, look, here's what I want to do. And they're like, you want to do what? I said, just follow me on this for a minute. This is what we need to do. This is what our genre of music needs. And it took some convincing for some people.
Hmm.
But then, we were off to it. And that first year was just unbelievable, right? Ronnie James Dio and Randy Rhoads. And oh man, it was just off the hook.
Yeah, and I mean, um, for me, and I keep telling Raquel, I thought I had plans to actually go out there this year, and it hasn't worked out. But I am going to get out to one because it's like, she tells me what you guys do. She tells me how it goes, and it's just like this is just me going to be hanging out with my people like that. I don't know them all. I know some of them, but I think it's a wonderful thing. In terms of the inductees this year, how do you do that? Do you announce them ahead of time? Is it a surprise? How do you do that?
Yeah. And again, as I mentioned, the voting process, people can vote. Everybody votes on the website, metalhalloffame.org. And then our nominating committee filters it down from there. And then we see who wants to be involved sometimes. And I know the fans really, it's kind of weird because if you're not involved, you're shocked, right? Especially us, you and I, like as metal fans,
Yeah,
like to hear that, somebody doesn't want to do something at an award show, or it's just horrible
sure.
because we're fans. I mean, I'm a huge metal fan. That's where this whole thing comes from, is my love for metal too. I mean, and I remember when Johnny Z started right here in my own backyard, practically, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And never mind, was that amazing when we had a Metallica induct Johnny and Marcia, right? That was just phenomenal. But yeah, so that's really how it goes. And I mean, it's a process. and a lot of people want to get involved. Some don't, but to those who get involved, and look, the fans absolutely love it. And at the end of the day, it's all about the fans. It's all about those musicians who have worked so hard for us to keep metal relevant, and it's also about our nonprofit. 100% of what we get goes to bringing free therapy programs and music programs to special needs children and adults and wounded veterans.
So that to me, I had an opportunity to interview Russell Javers about 4 years ago, who used to play with Billy Joel, and he to this day made a statement that still hits home with me every time. And basically, it was every time something gets cut, it's always the arts, right? So it's they always value the arts or devalue the arts. During COVID, it was the one thing everybody drew on, and now to me, I feel like maybe it's being taken advantage of, or it's being taken for granted of a little bit. To do that, to say that you're giving 100% of that stuff to that's incredible. Maybe some success stories you can tell us that you maybe have had from doing that over the years.
Yeah, sure. Well, the DAD program, which is Drums and Disabilities, is something that I started 20 years ago. I pioneered something called the healing art of drum therapy, which I started many years before that. And that helps retrain the synapses in the brains through the rhythms and patterns of drumming.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a very specific way of doing that. So what drum therapy does is it helps children, special needs children, adults, and wounded veterans, especially wounded veterans that might have PTSD. But it helps those folks that might have autism, Tourette's, MS, cerebral palsy, dyslexia, any kind of behavioral issues, ADD, ADHD. And drum therapy helps to develop retention, coordination, and fine motor skills through the rhythms and patterns of drumming. And Mayor Bloomberg helped me launch the program in 2004 and in the New York City schools. And Vince McMahon, the WWE, had helped me out when they brought us over to WrestleMania and then to Raw here in New York and New Jersey at that point in time to help us launch the program. And now the program's in over 15 countries where I'm the only one that can really train somebody as a drum therapist. And not from an ego standpoint, but only because drum therapy has to be done in a very specific way when
Mm-hmm.
you're retraining the synapses in the brains. So I train brain surgeons, occupational therapists, physical therapists, behavioral therapists in drum therapy, and we have the program in over 15 countries. And again, 100% of that goes to the DAD program too. So
Incredible. And this could be the reason, Pat, why there's less jokes about drummers and now more jokes about bass players out there. Just a thought. Just a thought. But anyway, let's have a little fun here for a couple minutes. Drummer to drummer. Um, your biggest influence growing up when you were learning how to play?
yeah, um, Terry Bozzio and Ian Pace.
Oh, good ones right there. Ian Pace. In that to me, in that genre of the British movement, he's the guy that probably had the most talent that was always overlooked.
Always overlooked, right?
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, this is a really cool story. Long story, even shorter. So back when I'm still a ProMark artist, ProMark drumsticks, and I had a signature line, a Hotfoot bass drum beater, and it was such an honor to have Ian Pace endorse that and use it. And he actually uses that in his house to practice. And
Awesome.
how cool to practice bass drum beater. That was just like when he told me that. I was just like, because I'm the biggest Deep Purple fan there is.
Well, so I was going to my next question. So Deep Purple's your band.
Yeah, one of them, of course, Sabbath.
Yep.
I'm also I play a lot of prog and progressive music and drumming, and I like jazz, of course, too. So, I mean, I have an 11-piece double bass drum set with 7
Nice.
cymbals, so I tend to go kind of retro on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Absolutely. Um, as you can see, I'm a huge Kiss fan. I did my part to put Gene and Paul's kids through university, and I'm very proud of that. I will tell you this: we spent the day yesterday locally here at a friend of mine. He has probably one of the biggest Kiss collections in Atlantic, Canada, and I shot some video for a future episode. It was very very cool. Two drum kits. He's got a replica Peter Kiss's kit from I think the '75 tour. It was very cool. Um, so what do you play for drums?
Ludwig,
Ah, there you go. Can't
Ludwig,
argue with
and
that.
yep, Yeah, Ludwig, I love that, older sound, and I'm also a Zildjian artist and a ProMark artist and an Evans drumhead artist as well. And speaking of that, I don't know if you know, we had the Metal Hall of Fame All Star CD that I played on. Most of the tracks I wrote, but I played on that with Jeff Tate and Steve Vai and Satriani and Ripper Owens and Bob Daisley. So they were all nice enough when I called them. Um, to come and play on the CD. And that's out by Deco Records, Warner Brothers. And again, that's all those proceeds go to the DAD program as well to help those special needs kids.
You're living a rough life. Hey, Jeff Tate, will you sing on my album? That's awesome. Um, so I guess as we wrap, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you doing this, and it's great to finally meet you because, like I say, we have that mutual friend in Raquel, and love to chat drums with you sometimes. I'm a Mapex artist. I'm an endorsee here in Canada, which is kind of fun. Um, where can my viewers? Because I'm assuming there's still tickets for them to go and check this out if they want to purchase tickets and what have you. Where do they find out more about that?
Yes, sir. And thank you for that. Go to the metalhalloffame.org and they can find the ticket link there. And the Facebook page will be streaming live where people can donate directly to the Red Cross. None of the money touches our hands. And, uh, and they can donate there to help the victims of the Los Angeles County wildfires.
And we'll do a shameless plug here for Pat. So after this is done, what do you have on the go for the rest of 2025?
Well, real quick. So I also have the Metal Hall of Fame Mobile Museum where I bring our tour bus and a lot of the original memorabilia that we have.
Nice.
Derek Riggs did some original Eddies for me. I have the original artwork from the Dio hologram tour. We have a lot of great things, the fans. So we're working on doing that tour. I'm working on next year already. I'll let your fans know out there that Alice Cooper will be inducted next year and performing two songs. So
Nice.
that's cool. We're going to announce that at the gala. And yeah, that's, probably doing some more drum therapy stuff, of course, to help. That goes with me everywhere. So, yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of people don't realize, and I've been part of events where they don't realize you work all year, you have the event, you literally take a couple days off, and you're starting to plan again for the following year. It doesn't surprise me, probably surprises a number of people. But what is your? I'm assuming you have to do a lot of your meetings on Zoom and phone and whatnot to make this happen, and you probably go out there quite a bit. But what's your process for doing that, just to get her going?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the first thing I really have to think about is what happens with somebody's tour schedule,
Right.
right? So we need to start lining that up because who knows, like, where everybody's going to be. Like, there were supposed to be some people this year that just couldn't because they got, called on a tour like last minute and they have to do it. So that's the first part of it. And then, of course, the venue is pretty much already set. And then from there, it's just arranging all the other things around it. Making sure who the inductees are and planning the work of the show, the way it looks, the way it sounds, and yeah. So you're right. A lot of people don't understand that, but as you know from doing a ton of things, it's a lot of hard work putting on events for sure.
ABC always be closing, right?
Yeah,
And I didn't even ask. Our nominees this year or our inductees this year are
yeah. So as I mentioned, we're doing the tribute to Dimebag Darrell, 20th, commemoration of life.
right.
We and his wife will be there, and they have an actual dime bag display with the bus, and they're going to have some of Dime's new guitar lines, um, uh, and we're going to have some of the amps that are there as well. That he has a new amplifier line coming out, so they're going to be there. We have Ricky Rocket, Alyssa White Glutes from Arch Enemy, Fear Factory, Burton C. Bell. We have Life of Agony, Cannibal Corpse, Jeff Young. I might be missing a couple other people in there off the top of my head, but yeah, it's going to be a great show for sure.
And Eddie Trunk and Kathy Rankin. I mean, what more do you want?
Oh, and it's been great because, Eddie's a dear friend, but such an honor to have him as well. And Kathy. It's just great. And the fans, again, this is all about the fans too. So and so many people are excited and they look forward to this every year. wherever I am, people are like, I can't wait till next year. I can't wait till next year. And I'm like, well, thank you. That's because I'm just a big metalhead fan metalhead as you are. So
Well,
that's
I tell you, when you say it's about the fans, I actually get that vibe because sometimes you're, oh, it's about the fans, but it's kind of one of those platitudes, right? I will say this to get the golf claps and get the people in the seats, but I get that vibe from you. Like I get the whole. To me, you're a guy that's got this incredible network and you get a lot of great connections, but you just seem like a dude from Jersey that I could sit down and have a beer. Well, I haven't had a beer in a few weeks, but and just shoot the breeze and it would be cool, right? So good on you guys for doing this, my friend.
Thank you so much. And I can't do it without you and the fans. It's, we're all one community and we all need to stick together, especially with all the craziness in the world that's going on now. That's for
Oh,
sure.
100%. Pat, I want to thank you so much for your time, my friend. And I'm gonna get an update from Raquel on how it went, and I'd love to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, please let's do that. And hopefully when I'm up in the area, we could hang out for a bit and have, a drink. Although I don't drink alcohol, I never did, but we'll hang out together. That's for sure.
We can have some Pepsis or Coke, right?
I'm all for that.
Peace, my friend.
Thank you so much. Great honor to be here.
We're back after this.